Well, hey there, friendships. Welcome back to Curtis's Corner. If you are new here, hi, I'm Curtis. This is my corner, and this is Movie Monday. Today's Movie Monday, we are going to be talking about none other than Saw X. This is the brand new Saw film that has come out. It has been a while since we've gotten a decent Saw film, so let's dive in and see if this film brings it back to its roots, and see if this film is worth your money at the theater. Before I get started, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel because I will be putting out weekly videos, and go follow all of my social media that's been floating around the screen this whole time. Check the description box below to see how you can show some extra support by either going to my Patreon or my Ko-fi, as I like to call it. Everything is down below in the description box. All info is there. But let's dive right into this movie review for Saw X. Tobin is returning as none other than John Kramer. Now, you're probably thinking, how is this happening? Well, this is actually taking place between Saw 1 and Saw 2. Now, in my mind, after seeing the film, I like to actually canonize it between Saw 2 and Saw 3, just based on how old the actors are. So Shawnee Smith reprises her role as Amanda. That's not a big shock because you see her literally get revealed at the end of the Saw X trailer. Now, obviously, Tobin and Shawnee Smith are both older from when they were doing this back in 2005. However, I feel like the way that John looks in this film, it makes more sense to canonize him in between 2 and 3, because with 2, he was already dying and had like the ventilation mask. And in 1, he didn't have any of that, and he looked relatively healthy considering he had cancer. And I feel like he was just kind of diagnosed with cancer in Saw 1. So having this film kind of take place between 1 and 2 doesn't really make sense. Whereas Saw 2 and 3, it makes more sense because he's dying, he's getting the treatments that he's needing in order to try and live longer, but he's still looking old, weathered, tired. And Shawnee Smith doesn't quite look like herself from how she looked between 1 and 2. She looks more like how she would be transitioning towards Saw 3. And I think this is the perfect place to put it. As for the story, it is done so differently than any of the Saw films before. The first 3 are pretty much the best story-wise, and that's because they actually focused on the story and made the kills come secondary, whereas everything else, it was kills first, story second. This, I would say, it is a good 70-30 story to kills. Most of the film, you are actually focused and following John. John is the main character of this. It's not anyone else. They are all secondary characters in this film. And for most of the runtime, you are following John as John and not as Jigsaw. You do see him as Jigsaw as the film goes on. However, most of the film, he is portrayed as John and not the Jigsaw killer. That being said, this is giving such an insight into who he is as a person and everything that he's kind of gone through. And it really, really makes you feel for this character who's supposed to be this awful human being, but now you're getting the backstory of this is why he's doing it. I understand why he's doing it, and not just that throwaway line of he got into a car crash, almost died, and now he thinks that life is more precious than it actually is made out to be. That I found was always kind of such a just meh excuse for the reasonings as to why he's putting these people through these tests. This is a reason to show not only revenge against the people who have now wronged him, but to really show the appreciation and the false hope that he's going to give, but then having it actually become true if they succeed in his tests. The performances by everyone are absolutely wonderful. Probably some of the best performances shown in any of the Saw films. Tobin obviously is a highlight. Shawnee Smith is basically almost stealing every single scene that he's in. There are parts where you're not going to feel this sense of dread because you know that it's taking place in a time frame where he's actually alive, but you still can feel like a sense of dread for other characters that are involved. One in particular near the end of the film, I will not discuss that, but I was very much unsure of how that game was going to be played. And it elevated not only the story, but the characters involved so much more and shows more of a humanity humanity to them, rather than just these angry, revenge-filled monsters, if you will. Synnøve Makodi Lund, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly, as Cecilia Peterson, is a great villain adversary to John Kramer's Jigsaw. She is a despicable person, and you see every ounce of her character just being completely terrible. Such a terrible human. And you're finding yourself really, really rooting for Jigsaw the entire time. That's going to be pretty much all I can say about these characters, aside from I wish there was a little bit more development on the villains of this film. I find they were just kind of quickly shoved in. You weren't really given a backstory. You weren't really told why they were doing what they were doing. All you know is they were bad people who did a bad thing. Done. That's pretty much my only critique about this film. The traps I thought were fun, inventive, new, great. One, all I'm going to say, it involves bone marrow, and it is absolutely disgusting. That is gross. That was probably the worst one out of all the traps. I felt kind of uneasy when watching that one. Otherwise, the eyeball one that you see in the trailers, fun. That was great. There's stuff to do with lots of heat in this one, which is such a unique type of way to bring someone out. I'm not going to say what happens, but just talking about like how the traps have evolved over time. There's different methods, and I'm really enjoying it. The twist at the end, as you know, with every Saw film, there's always a type of twist. I thought it was pretty good. I don't think it was as surprising as it could have been. The only surprise that I really got from it was, I think, the timing. I guess, and that's just on me because I didn't realize that we were coming up to the end of the film. The fact that, like, I knew there were aspects of the twist that were coming where it was like something is going to be somewhere. I'm trying to explain this without giving it away. I knew the setup to the twist, but I didn't expect it to be played out the way that it did. Let's put it that way. There is also a mid-credit scene where it's not leading up to anything, so don't get your hopes up for that. It just expands more on the story you are currently watching, and that I think is wonderful. I think fans of the series are going to enjoy the mid-credit scene, and I think fans are going to really enjoy this new installment into the franchise. So with all of that being said, I'm going to give Saw X an A-. John Kramer at his best, Shawnee Smith at her best, traps at their best. Really, really, really good addition to the franchise, especially with the last 3 films in this franchise that we got. It is so much more of an improvement, and no Saw fan is going to be disappointed with anything that happens in this film. So hopefully you enjoyed my review. If you did, make sure you give this video a like. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button because I put out weekly videos, and hit that notification bell so you know when I post a brand new video, because if you don't, how else are you going to know when I post? You won't, so do it. Stay tuned for the next video content that I'm putting out. But until then, goodbye, friendships.